We'll move right through this today, hopefully.
Well,
Everything looks
let's
fine.
set a stopwatch, see if we can set a record. We'll call the meeting for the Economic Development Authority to order for Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. We'll waive the roll call. We have a quorum present today. So our first order of business is to approve the minutes of our July 12th, 2022 meeting.
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 3.1 would be the Administrative Activities Report for July 2022.
Commissioner President, Commissioners, just call to note, we do have one vacancy at Broadway House. We have about 22 on the waiting list. Family units, we have one vacancy with about 25 on the waiting list, so we'll be able to fill those fairly soon. We did close 2 homebuyer assistance loans in June. We have a little under 18,000 remaining. And then our 2 rehab programs are Get It Ready, which is single family, and our multifamily rehab are pretty full at this point, so we'll see if there's some construction that we can do. I know there's a couple multifamily projects kind of in the downtown area that'll probably tap into the multifamily rehab. They just haven't submitted their applications yet.
Great.
Make a motion to accept the Economic Development Authority administrative activities for the month of July 2022.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Any additional discussion? We're hearing none. We'll, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Item 4.1, Broadway House Range Hood Replacement Project.
Commission President, Commissioners, this is kind of an extension of your decision on May 10th to send out proposals. We did get one bid from Full Service Electric in the amount of $83.40 to replace the range hoods.
Looks like the project comes in right in with the estimates. So I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion to award the bid to Broadway House Range Hood Replacement Project to Full Service Electric in the amount of $8,340.
I'll second.
First and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 4.2, August 9th, 2022 claims list.
Our normal question, anything out of the ordinary?
Not for this month.
It looks pretty standard.
I'll offer a motion to approve the claims for August.
I'll second.
First and second, is there any additional discussion on that matter? Hearing none, that will call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 5.1, approved purchase agreement for 1314 Westridge Road.
Yeah, so this was, there have been some minor changes to the purchase agreement that we felt needed to be brought to the EDA's attention. There will be the next item, which is the Childcare grant through deed. We won't know if we get that grant until October or November, and so we can use that grant for purchasing the property or acquisition. So we had wanted to apply for the whole amount. So when we were talking with the purchaser or the purchasee or the seller, they will hold the property for us, but it is going to be a $2,000 a month holding cost to hold it until we get there. And so negotiating with them, they're going to give us the donation, and we'll use that donation to pay that $2,000 holding cost. And it may end up costing between $1,500 to $3,000 additional for us to get that property. But the minute we know we get the grant, that's when we'll set the closing cost. So as soon as we know, we'll close that, so we may be able to save some money on that end. So that's really the only change to the purchase agreement. And to me and to Heather, when we looked at it, it's a small price to pay to get potentially $150,000 from deed to help with the acquisition
is that a scoring model they're using for that grant application?
It's just going to be a competitive grant.
Okay.
Yeah, competitive grant. So through the deed rules, it's going to be project ready, what you're doing, probably, they'll take into account number of slots and probably stuff like that. But, we're right at that where we're ready to go. We'll have plans and everything.
Literally,
So
I swear that grant
Yeah.
notification came out
it
the
was-
week we went ahead and moved forward with the.
it was literally the next day,
Yeah.
which is what threw the wrench into it and saying, hey, could we hold off? And this is what they're coming up with. So, I have no issues, with moving forward with something like this. Heather's on board. It's just, whether you
Well,
feel
and
comfortable
I
with it.
believe that this additional cost for holding is worth the gamble. I don't think it's a gamble, but our approach to that grant, I think that's exactly what we had talked about earlier, is to seek out other funds, and here that opportunity came forward, so.
Disagreement, the 2,000 seems nominal. We're allowed to enter the property, we just can't live there or anything. So, if there are things that we need to do in the meantime, we can keep everything moving forward. So with that, I will make a motion to approve and authorize Executive Director to sign the purchase agreement for 1314 Westridge Road.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. The only other thing I just wanted to bring up, and this is just a question for all the commissioners, would we want to have a tour? I don't know how many of the I've been in the property recently. If that's something we'd want to arrange, I don't know what your thoughts are.
I mean, I've seen the property, I've been in there many times.
We can definitely put that together
I don't know
and
what
see.
you guys' thoughts are. I'm not trying to make you come out on an afternoon.
Yeah, no, we can definitely set that up.
Maybe see what Heather's thoughts are and.
I would love like a before and after, because I
Yeah.
think once we go through and do the renovations too, it's going to be very transformative, and it's going to be
Probably,
interesting.
we're making a lot of decisions, I would assume, on this property.
I
coming
would
up.
say let's when we get the architect on board and they need to tour the building, we'll do that initial tour with the architect there. So that'll be fairly soon.
I think,
Maybe something prior to a meeting like this, or.
Yeah, we can do something
7
like
o'clock
that.
tour or something like that.
great.
Figure it out. Yeah.
7 o'clock.
I didn't catch it.
I have a question for Chris. On page 12 of the appendix here, it outlines the property boundaries. And in red, everything's there, but in yellow, we just bought this section in yellow, right? 'Cause
That
there's-
is correct, yes.
Okay, there's a pretty big, actually pretty cool building down in the
Yes,
lower
I've
level.
been in that
But that's the family, or the owners retained that.
Yeah, they still retain that. It's just the yellow property that we were purchasing.
And I'm assuming as part of our purchase, does the city attorney just review the title and make sure we have clear marketable title when we acquire it? and
Yes.
Pretty standard stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? So we have a first and second on the table, so what we'll do at this time is call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Which just brings up to the next item, which we've already kind of touched on, is to authorize staff to apply for the Childhood Economic Development Grant through Minnesota Deed for up to $150,000.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to apply for a Childcare Economic Development Grant through Minnesota Deed for up to $150,000.
I'll second.
First and second, is there any other additional discussion on that matter? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Item 5.3, New Ulm Area Foundation Grant. Authorize staff to apply for economic development grant from the New Ulm Area Foundation in the amount of $50,000.
And we'd be applying for this grant to help with the renovation costs for the child care center.
Okay.
Their cycle is in October? Is that-
August and March.
Yeah.
Yep, August 15th is their deadline.
I'll authorize staff to apply for the Economic Development Grant from the New Ulm Area Foundation, in the amount of $50,000.
I'll second.
First and second, is there any additional discussion on this matter? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Item 5.4, Professional Design and Construction Management Services for 1314 Westridge Road.
Commissioners and Commissioner President, I would like to have you table this item. We're going to go back out to bid on this. initially contacted ISG, figuring it'd probably be about $30,000 to $40,000, and I did a half day on Friday, and I just had Heather just put it on the agenda, not knowing when I got to work on Monday. I was like, 70, we probably need to get another bid just to make sure 70 is the number. So if we can just table this, we probably will call a special meeting when we get the bids in, just so we can keep the process moving forward.
I'll offer a motion to table this item.
I'll second.
First and second, is there any additional discussion on this matter?
I just do have a question. Isn't it normal in a situation like this that you got to bid, the city has to get bids?
For professional services, you don't need to get bids, but because the amount was so high, I was like, we absolutely need to get a bid. But if it was in that 30 to 40 range, we could have done professional services.
Because when I read this, I thought there's only one bid.
Well, and my question too, I think is this particular bid, if in reading it, and I haven't reread it, but it really called for a closing sooner rather than later. Would us delaying the closing have any impact potentially on the cost? I guess if we go back and rebid it, we would have an updated date of possession or whatever that might have an impact or may not. I don't know.
And there were some items in there too. I looked at, it said 70,000, but it was about 30,000 for interior design work. And I don't think we need to do tons of interior design work. Just, hey, here's 4 walls and let the providers put what they want in those buildings. So I think some of the scope that they provided was a little skewed. Because, it's 20,000 for architecture and 30,000 for interior design. I don't need 30,000 in interior design.
I would think the residents of it would be able to put artwork on the wall,
Yep.
and we wouldn't need professional services for that. The kids would be able to color and
Yep.
hang stuff on the walls.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the interior thing is going to be rather, like you say, 4 walls, very simplistic, as long as it complies with the set standards with the fire and the licensing folks.
Yep.
And they may play a bigger role in that design aspect than an architectural firm, so.
Yeah, so we'll go back out and, again, if 70 is the number, 70 is the number, but we're going to go out and get a couple more bids, so.
That seems prudent.
And then let ISG talk to them and let them readjust.
Okay.
If they can.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing no, we'll then call for the vote. All in favor of tabling this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. 5.5, Foresee Studio Service Agreement. Authorize city manager to execute a service agreement with Foresee Studios in the amount of not to exceed $13,000.
Commission President, Commissioners, this is a website we've been kind of talking about for a while, and when we redid our website, we kind of got the pieces together on the city side, but now Foresee Studios has newownbusiness.com. They own that web domain, and they're willing to build an economic development website in conjunction with the partnership, get some of their information up there as well, to be a one-stop shop for businesses, site selectors, to have access to all the information. We kind of have all the pieces out there now. We have our new property search database up and running. People love that. So it's integrating everything now to have a standalone website where you can just easily get all the information for opening a business, expanding your business. You don't have to go to our government website, click on business, then find incentives. It's just, here you go, newownbusiness.com. We can direct everyone to that. And this is fairly reasonable. The actual quote's about $11,000. I threw an extra $2,000 in there just in case there were any hiccups or maintenance we need to do, have them do. But it includes a lot of photography, which we don't currently have, some videography, mobile response, some in-person training for Heather, myself, and Lisa Pelzel, so we can update the site. Because one thing that we want to do is just make sure that the site is always up to date, always something going on. We'll be doing Facebook posts, Twitter posts on economic development activities. So there's just always something there, and always, if a site selector comes, it's never going to seem dated. So it's something that'll push us forward. If you do want to look at kind of what I'm going to model it after, if you go to MorenoValleyBusiness.com and you look at their site, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing. And with that, we'll also be doing a new little economic development logo, so.
Great. Does this company focus and specialize in economic development websites, or is it just a web developer?
It's
in
a web
general?
developer in town
Okay.
that has the domain name. And so they were kind enough, the chamber was no longer going to be using newhomebusiness.com, and he technically owned it. And so we're going to work with him to put it together.
He's a really respected guy. He does a good job.
Great.
This is a local person.
yeah.
The vendor is local.
Local, yep, right down over by New Home Real Estate.
Okay.
So Chris, well, I know we have this other site that does the property, so these two programs got to talk to each other.
Yep.
So that's all in this bid and all in,
So basically, we'll contact our GIS planning, and they'll just migrate it.
so in the future, will we go into this system first and then go, click a button and then go into that property
So you'll go to
management
It
system?
would just be how it is now. When you click on property search, it just automatically takes you to that.
site,
So
yeah.
on Newell, you'll go to newhomebusiness.com, click on property search, same thing. It'll
Okay.
be seamless transition.
That's what I assumed, but, all right, thank you.
Yep.
It's nice that he's local. I saw that right away and I was like, I've heard his name, but I don't know him, but.
Yeah, I mean, he's at all the events. He does the drone shots in the city. So he's going to do a lot of the photography that we don't have if we need stuff for the website, and a lot of videography. So it'll be good.
We used him at the chamber. He used to work for Kemsky's. And Adam is he's a great person. He's honest. He's just full of energy. So I think it'd be a good choice.
Authorize the city manager to execute the service agreement with Foresee Studios in the amount not to exceed $13,000.
Second.
First and second, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, then we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 6.1, accept economic development activity report for July 2022 activities.
So we had one grant paid out for our small business incentive grant, and another one placed on the waiting list. Heather continues to kind of crank out the business outreach visits, doing 18 in the past month. Working with one of the members from the CTE Center to kind of see how they did their capital campaign, so we can model it after that. Looking at getting a fiscal agent to receive donations for the Childcare Center. Heather's been working with SBDC staff to set up a succession planning workshop. So a lot of things coming through the pipeline that she's working on. To make sure we're moving in the right direction. Working with Hope Housing still to kind of finalize some land acquisition and stuff like that to get that project up and running, but it's still looking like finishing in the fall of '23, at least one of the complexes.
There recently, too, the city had sold some parcel.
Yes,
At
and-
least that's what our local media had said.
Yeah, and we're looking at selling just a little bit, technically the rest of the property. When they went out there, they noticed that if they just had everything and they were doing the grading, it just makes more sense. So that'll probably be coming back to the council at the next meeting, but that project is still plugging away.
Well, that's why, it just an indication that things are moving forward.
Yep.
Yep, great.
Yeah, that's about it.
Do we know when the housing study is going to be in our hands?
Sometime September, October.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
I'll make a motion to accept the Economic Development Activity Report for July 2022 activities.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Sorry, we only went 19 minutes. Not a record, but we did pretty
Got
good.
a lot of business done, though.
Meeting is adjourned.